Is anybody there?
Hello? Is anybody there?
He's here.
Helen's here, isn't she?
No.
Oh.
There's not a sausage here.
There are
you
7
go.
sausages.
Okay. 7 sausages. Hi there. So, we are here together on the same screen, the same camera. I can actually touch it.
It's for real.
We're actually both in the same place. I'm Danny. This is Kosha.
Hello.
And we are getting ready to do our homework for Inma Serrano's exciting class.
Can you turn up the sound?
Can I turn on hold on a second? Sorry, folks. So anyway, so keep talking.
Yeah. So Inma has given us some homework that can be either very complicated or very simple. It just really depends on how you want to approach it. And as we saw, Inma has always a bag full of stuff, like loads of art supplies to choose from. And part of it, of course, is watercolors. So as I was traveling to New York, I didn't bring lots of art supplies. I just brought my small size watercolor set. Very laughable. Look at that. And I have a handful of pens that I can use. I am actually even just going to use a water brush, no fancy brushes or anything. I'm just going to try it in my style. She also always uses the plastic brush. And that's what I'm going to use, basically. So the assignment is to draw a scene or anything. And I think if I interpret it right, it's just like bring in any tool you want to and try to really focus on the colors. And you can also make extra washes to link everything together. So it's really about color and not about line.
A few logistical questions or things to address. We were going to go outside and paint this in the park so that we could follow Inma's example and mix lots of greens. Unfortunately, it's pouring with rain all of a sudden, so we can't. So we're stuck here in my kitchen. And we're going to be using a couple of different cameras, but this is the thing that we're going to be drawing. Whoops, that's not good. Oh, that's kind of like a weird perspective, isn't it? Yeah, so here's what we're going to be painting, which is all the liquor that we haven't drunk yet. So a bunch of liquor bottles and just like a little still life. So we have something that's colorful to paint. So we probably aren't going to show you that again, but just imagine that is what we are looking at ourselves, right? So yeah. So we're going to move the camera around, and we're going to try and aim it on first one person's painting and then the other. We're going to go back and forth. So, all right, that's enough about logistics. So in terms, so those are the things you brought.
Yeah.
I have this giant set of watercolors that I got recently. They are Japanese.
So amazing.
They're beautiful colors. As you saw them on the screen, but now when you saw them live, you were impressed, right?
I guess.
Yes. So they're very nice colors, and I've talked about them before. I forget what they're called. Kuretake, who is a big pen manufacturer, they are the source of that. I also have, from what I learned from Ian's class, I have my 3 primary neutrals: lemon yellow, quinacridone red, and phthalo blue.
Nice.
That I have on this dinner plate. I hope my wife doesn't find out that I'm using this dinner plate to make some paints on. But
are those the good plates?
They're the good plates. Yes. But she'll never know unless she watches this. Mm-hmm. I also have this bunch of brush markers. These are watercolor brush markers that are pretty fun. So I'm going to try. Yeah, I'm going to try those out. And what else? I have fresh box.
Yeah, the smell of it. Love it.
Smell of it. I have some designer gouache, so just in case the spirit of August Wren seizes me, I will have that. I also have
things falling apart.
I also have this set of these are watercolors that are pan watercolors, but they are opaque. So this is gouache.
Yeah.
Gouache.
I have those too at home.
Yeah. Just because we have these are solid. My dog has pneumonia, so you might hear him coughing in the background, but he's getting better. These are solid tempera paints.
So much fun
could be cool to play.
If you want to block colors, those are really great.
Could be cool. Yeah. We learned those from Vanessa who taught in the whimsical sketchbook class, which some of you may have taken.
Yeah.
I have a big thing of colored pencils here, and I have another thing of colored pencils.
Just showing off now.
Another thing of colored pencils.
Come on.
So I will not. This Facebook Live is not going to end until I've used every single one of these. So prepare yourself. You might want to make a sandwich. You might want to pull up an armchair.
I might actually get a drink from our still life.
And I have my handy towel, of course, which is good for brushing my head and for dealing with errant watercolors. Okay, so let's get started. So why don't we? Do you want to start your thing and I'll start my thing?
Yeah.
But we'll film you and then we'll come back to see where I'm at.
Yeah.
And then we'll go back and forth. So that way we can give you a sense of what we're both doing, how we're approaching it. We'll try to tell you what we're doing as we do it.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll take it from there. So, all right, so I'm going to switch to the other camera, which is here. And let's see if I can get this camera. Oops, sorry.
I'll make it let me through.
Is that comfortable? There we go.
Have to be bring it closer.
That?
Oh, that's good. I think. Yeah.
You comfortable there?
Yeah, that should
All right.
work.
There we go.
Oh boy, here we go. The pressure. Okay. So I think this part actually is pretty.
I'm just going to start drinking the liquor.
Yeah. This is pretty fun because you don't really need to be very accurate. So I just see lots of colors. And I think I'm going to start with the most obvious color, which is that pink bottle of, what is it? What is that? Syrup?
That's a good question. No, I think it's some exotic French liqueur.
Right.
I've lost my watercolor brush.
So I'm just blocking those out. I have no idea where I'm going with this, but I think that's part of the surprise as well. I can use this color here as well. That's one of the things that I really liked about the way Inma works. If she mixes a color, she uses it in more than one place in her painting, even if she sort of has to make it up. But that unifies things a lot, and I really like that idea of also of recycling the colors that you have mixed. So I think that's another pink I can sort of use, and maybe I'll come back to it later. And I think I'll sort of work my way from back forward, blocking things out. And I'm not really trying to do anything really accurate or make it super realistic, because I want to work kind of fast here.
Now, you were there with Inma. Is there any stories you can tell us about what it's like to be around her while she's painting?
You know, it's amazing how fast she paints. She's such a fast painter. I mean, we've all seen that in the videos. And when I showed her the videos, she was like, "Did you speed this up?" She was surprised by her own speed, actually.
Yes.
Yeah. No, it was really great to see her work and to see the drawings growing so quickly. So I don't really have stories, and I'm really a bad storyteller when I am drawing. I can't really do that. I'm going to focus on the drawing part, painting part. I really like it that you added that Dutch liquor there.
Yeah, that bottle's almost empty. You brought me that bottle years ago.
I know.
What is it called?
It's Genever, so it's Geneva. It's kind of a sort of a gin. Strong. I think we actually also shared some with the faculty. Didn't we have a faculty dinner?
Yeah, we did. We had like shots of it.
Yeah.
Shots.
Yeah. I think Inma's class was quite a departure from where we were last week, don't you think? I saw some people posting that they were kind of struggling with it.
That they were struggling with painting like Inma? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, she is so fast, and I can totally understand that can be kind of worrying, or that you get the feeling that you need to be fast as well. And I think there is a benefit in working fast because you can't can't get caught up into details too much, which I really like. But everybody has their own pace. So if you feel like you need to rush through it, that really isn't a good sentiment, I think. But I think we're still in the, it follows up the very playful idea of painting that we learned from Jennifer, don't you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's also about expressiveness. I think Ian Sidaway is very, deliberate and planned out. August Wren, Jennifer was even talking about that, about how when she watched his demos, she just thought, boy, he has it all figured out. He's really thought about it. And she was feeling kind of defensive, and she said, I'm not, that is to plan it. But I think it's just a different style. And I think the results are different. His work feels much more controlled and clean, and his lines are clean, but it takes a lot of work that I'm not really capable of. I don't know how you are, but
I know.
I mean, there are things that you've drawn certainly that feel, that have that kind of care to them. Like your color pencil things.
Yeah, that's true, and it is like that takes a long time because you need to layer it. It's kind of similar to how he works, I think, but then again, it's really not, because you need to leave it alone as well. That's what watercolors. You can't fiddle around too much with it, and I can work with color pencils like that, but with watercolors, I just don't have the. I don't know. It feels like. If I want to paint, I don't really want it to be too accurate, and maybe that's just my, maybe I'm just not good enough yet, and it might be something that I want to work towards, but yeah, I don't know. I enjoy combining different types of materials as well, so I don't know if I could ever do that.
I mean, we were talking yesterday about the differences between approaching something as a painter and approaching something as a drawer.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you were saying that you feel like you're not a painter.
Yeah.
You don't think you're a painter.
That's true. Yeah, because it was the iPad experiment. I tried to make some drawings on your iPad, and I felt overwhelmed by all the possibilities. That's one thing. And then you showed me all these things that you do with it, and I was like, you are a true painter. And I don't feel like I am one. I'm always thinking line, I think. I mean, here I'm already drawing lines without even thinking about it. I was blocking out colors, and I've painted lines.
Right.
Yeah,
I mean, I like to think in terms of these blocks of color. I think that's cool and loose, keeps you loose.
Yes, absolutely.
And that the accuracy comes in later on. Your observations, that as you spend more time on it, then you come back and it sort of comes into focus. That's what's interesting to me often when you watch demos of watercolor artists. It's like at first you go, what is that person even painting? I can't even tell what it is.
Yeah.
And then they add like a few things and you say, oh, it's all starting to appear together.
Suddenly it makes sense, yeah.
It's the trick. So.
Should have painted that wooden block actually first.
So I see.
So this is sort of my first setup. I think I will add some wood color here, but then my first blocks are done. Do you want to show what you've been doing?
Yes. It's a bit crazy here.
Wow, yeah.
Bigger, looser.
Oh, you're using some sort of silver too.
Yeah, this is like an iridescent kind of color. So this looks really choppy. So I'm looking forward to seeing what happens when I start adding some more details. So I can just switch this camera. This might work. You can sort of see what we're both doing. Or shall I just keep it on mine for a little
Yeah, keep it on yours.
All right, so. And, I sure hope that this makes sense to people. Let's see if it's random. I don't know what has happened. So, all right. Yes. What am I going to do now? So I think I'm going to continue to be fairly bold and big in my lines and stuff. Just adding more bits and bobs. So
I'm going to steal some of your crayons in the meantime. What's happening?
I'm thinking. I'm thinking.
Okay.
This is what it sounds like when I'm thinking.
It's very quiet. I'm not really used to that.
Yeah. My brain usually makes more noise. No, I kind of back myself into a bit of a corner because I want to start adding detail, but I don't want to lose the kind of wildness of this. And so I am going to start feeling like I have to put line in. But just kind of like the blockiness of this. So we're drawing this group of bottles that are all really big shapes, but then all the shapes are broken up by other shapes.
Oh, look at that.
Hey, don't break those crayons. Those are costly.
No,
those
this
are
is just my own rainbow pencil.
Yeah. So I'm just using blue, for lack of having a better idea, just to sort of define some stuff that is bothering me because it's so loose. Do you wish we were outside in the park?
I kind of like this this setup that we made, but it would have been fun to mix some greens and maybe add some people walking by, you know. But
yeah, I'm troubled by the fact that we're painting like a really made-up still life.
Yeah, I know.
That kind of bugs me. But can't be a purist when you're doing a video. That's could be. How do you guys feel about us doing these live? They're a little less kind of planning than in the past we've done our study halls as like little films, and we were a bit more kind of planned out about them. But I don't know how you guys feel about that.
Leave a comment if you have an opinion. I really like doing them this way.
Yeah.
It's so much more fun. It's nice to see how people respond, and it's also a little bit scary because
it's definitely like working without a net, as they say in the circus.
Yeah.
I wonder how Ian Sidaway is doing.
Canada. Painting, probably.
Oh, he's in Canada?
He's in Canada, yeah. He had like a big trip. And, yeah.
Well, we're going to see him again in a couple of weeks.
Yes.
In the 6th week of the course. Ian will be back to show us how he breaks some rules. That'll be pretty exciting.
It'll be fun.
Now, I hope that some of you out there are joining us in doing your homework.
Yeah, although it might be quite hard to watch us.
It's hard for me to watch us too.
No, watch and then also do your own homework. But
yes.
Hopefully it's kind of...
You'll probably learn more from doing your own homework than you will from this mess.
We are just making a mess here.
This is butchery.
No idea what I'm doing.
Yeah. I'm going to move this camera so it's a bit more on my thing. Okay, so I'm trying to paint this clear bottle over here, and I had to question for myself, like, do I really want to get into really doing all the stuff of the bottle? I mean, there's the question of like, how much do you want to get into the label, or do you want to keep it abstract? But also, do you want to get into all the reflections and the highlights? I think that's kind of a tough decision to make. I think if I was drawing this, I'd be much more into like, let me draw every single detail of this. But with painting, you kind of stay looser. And do you feel that way?
Yeah, definitely. And I am sort of catching myself drawing the outlines of things right now.
Right.
I kind of enjoy it, and I like that. There's like transparency there as well, and I'm not like tracing the shapes, but that is really my struggle with painting. You need to let go of wanting to capture a lot of detail. I think.
Right.
The detail is in a different kind of visual thing. I don't really know how to explain.
I think it'll be easy. I mean, I'm sort of craving, like, let me just get into the line, because right now I'm feeling a little defensive and paranoid about the fact that a bunch of people are watching me paint this, and it's kind of looks like a mess. But I know that as soon as I start adding line, which I'm going to start doing now, things may become clearer. Then again, maybe not. So this is fairly dry, but I'm going to start working on the parts of it that are less dry. That are more dry. See if I'm just going to try experimenting with this bottle. Like, does adding some lines here feel more satisfying to me somehow than the abstraction? Can I also make lines that still feel abstract, rather than like, oh, let me letter every single word on each of these bottles? Can I kind of give the impression of this bottle without getting bogged down in lettering and stuff? Mark making. Hey, how about if we go over to you for a bit? You can explain what you're doing.
Sure. Okay, so I realized that I was really enjoying drawing lines, and I was like, wait, I have this black big pen, which is great, which I really like here in those areas of white that it really stands out. But I want to add some more color, so I switched over to crayons, and I'm adding some blocks of color as well as some lines of color. So just try and do that a little bit and see where it gets me. Also, I used this magic pencil that I just broke, that I actually got from Helen, but she didn't notice that. Sorry, I broke the pencil. Anyways, I used that here in the back to outline and do this label. I might get back to it. I like that it's very unpredictable. That's good for me because it's always a little bit of a challenge and it's a little bit scary. So let's see what I can do with this purplish pink. I'm not very true to the real colors here. That's fine. That's good. I can add a little bit more depth here, shininess. I don't know if Imma would be proud of us here.
So you took a class with Imma. What was that like?
I did.
A workshop, really?
A workshop, yeah. It was a workshop in Seville, so yeah, gorgeous place, of course. And we actually did some of the we actually went to that place where we filmed the gray exercise with her, and we drew. I don't remember what the exercise was, but it was also what she taught us was like blocking things out and working quickly, drawing people with just one brush stroke, which I really like, and being bold. Really, it really changed my way of working a lot.
Yeah, I remember that when you came back from it, you felt like it had a transformative effect.
It really did. Yeah, I mean, I always try to be sort of accurate, and I don't know. She really helped me speed up things and be bold and use dark black lines even if there's not really darks, you can still use them to emphasize on things. And she also taught us about the pathway to steer the viewer's eye, kind of stuff. I really like that. So that really changed the way I work, yeah. But I think that's true for, all the sketchbook school courses as well. Every time I learn so much, it just changes the way I work, the way I think about my art, the way I change up the materials I use, and I love that. It's never a thing that's finished,
It's kind of like being a teenager where you're sort of picking up your identity by copying what other people do.
Yeah.
And then you absorb it until you become sort of a unique individual of your own. That's what this process can be like.
Okay, what I'm going to do, because now I have all these blobs of color, and it doesn't feel right yet. So, and Inma taught us about dirty colors as well, that you can make things a little bit more interesting, adding shadows and stuff. So I see a lot of shadows, and I think I'm going to try and make a wash and add some shadow and see if I can connect the things a little bit more, which is a total experiment.
So you're going to use shadows to draw all these different shapes kind of more into one shape.
Yes. And that could also mean that I will completely messed up my painting because I don't know what I'm doing. So I think I'll just use a gray. And what I learned from Ian is that you also always need to mix enough paint because you will run out. That's what I'm doing now. This might be way too dark, but let's just see what happens. Start in the middle because, then everybody can see it if it's completely wrong. Might actually work. Makes it a lot more interesting, that's for sure. Because it felt a little bit sort of empty. And I can also add a little bit of shadow to the bottles. I think especially when you're drawing street scenes, like in the gray exercise, it's really nice to use those washes. Did that the other day, I can show you a picture later, when I was sitting outside waiting for my food to arrive that I ordered in a restaurant here, and I just drew what I saw in front of me. Oh, I like what happens here with crayons that I put on top. Adds a little bit of texture. And at the end, I also added like a gray wash, and that pulled everything together. So that's really something that I learned from Inma. And here again, that gray wash, I'm trying to pull things together with it. Not sure if it works. Don't think this is going to be a drawing that I'm very proud of either.
Why not? Always be proud
Look
of
at
every
it.
terrible thing you make. They're all your children, even the ugly, distorted ones.
It's true. I think if I would do more now, it would just be because we're doing a Facebook Live and I feel like I should add more. So I'm not.
Very good. How restrained of you.
I like yours so much better.
You do, really?
Yeah.
Let's see what
Love the
everybody
colors.
else thinks of this. All right, so.
That's so awesome.
All right, so since we last saw each other, I have added this. I used this black ink brush pen to add some lines, and then I used my giant fat brush to add. And I was listening to you while you were doing the shadows. So I decided I would just try and do these shadows as well to kind of pull things together. And now I'm thinking I might want to use some gouache to add a bit of who knows what. Some gouache. I also have these, which are tempting. What do you think?
Why
Well,
not?
I think because what worries me a little about those markers is they'll make me get all persnickety and start wanting to draw all the bits of the label and write all the letters and stuff like that. And I'm really trying to force myself not to do that. But I am going to try and use a little bit of Deck Weiss opaque white. And I did, by the way, the shadows that I painted, I did mix. So lest you think I was just pulling colors out of this Kuretake set, I did mix some colors. And this white gouache is no good. So. All right. What do you think of a little bit of white? Daring, I know.
I love the background color. That's really good.
This teal?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was trying sort of to try and paint what I was seeing, and then I said to hell with it, I'm just going to give it a teal background. I feel a little like Bob Ross right now. Now I'm using this, there was another guy who was kind of like Bob Ross, but he was German, and he was talking about this magic bite. So I'm sort of using the magic bite. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I don't know. No, it doesn't ring a bell.
He would always like bring in white. I think he was painting in oil, but there is something about using white that like makes all your colors pop out, right? Makes your highlights, makes everything look more dimensional. So do you see any comments from people that you should be responding to?
I can't read it from here. No, I can't read.
Can't read it, right?
Maybe if you...
Well, if anybody has anything important to say... Oh, yeah, is that because it's not refreshing? Okay, oh, God, there's so many comments. Yikes. All right, so... Sorry, guys, it's almost impossible for us to paint,
it
talk,
really is,
and respond to you, but we will. Maybe we'll stop and look back and take some questions when we're done.
Yeah, and I want to show that picture, that drawing I was
talking about. Yeah.
Do that.
All right, so this is...
The white really makes a difference, especially
right?
in the darker areas. Wow.
Yeah. It's pretty loose. It kind of doesn't look like something I drew, does it? Would you have known that I'd done this? You know what my stuff usually looks like. This is a bit odd. I mean, I think it's because I'm channeling somebody else. You know?
Yeah.
And that's part of the process. So,
it's true.
Should we go back to looking at the two of us again?
Sure. Oh, wait. I want to show that thing with the gray.
Yes.
So this is a drawing that I made. And I started in line. I started with this red thing because I thought I'd just put something in the middle and work from there. And I drew the whole thing, and then I started to add color. I think I started with the trees and the buildings and everything. And in the end, I did, as you can see, it's kind of greenish. So everything that was on my palette, I just mixed it with a little bit of brown and a little bit of blue. And then I pulled everything together by adding these shadows. And that really made such a difference. Instead of leaving it white or coloring the whole street in a dark color, I think it really works. And it also pulls, because I used this color here as well, so it pulls everything together, even though I didn't even, color this part. So that is really an Inma thing that I would never have thought of before. So that's really one of the takeaways from the class for me. That really changes. It's a really game changer.
That's great.
Yeah. So and I'm
really nice.
a lot prouder of this drawing than this weird.
Yeah, that doesn't really look like you either, particularly. Yeah, I don't know what it is. I think it's maybe because the colors weren't bold enough. I don't know.
I think so. I don't know. Oh well.
It's hard to do watercolor in a small book like this.
It is.
I mean, to do Inma style wild ones. That's why I picked up this big one, because I want to
It's true. Yeah.
I want to get wild. So, all right, let's go back to us. Here we are.
Hello.
Let me get this guy here. So, all right.
Any comments? Did we miss anything?
So I saw some people were asking what kind of white I was using. It's just designer gouache, just Utrecht white gouache. If I'd had some bleed-proof white around, I probably would have grabbed that instead, but it was here. And what else? I mean, I don't know. I think this came out reasonably well.
I really like it. Yeah. And I think that's one thing I learned here, is that you need to be super bold, even though when I started, I thought I was bold, but I started out too small as well. I mean, I have this whole thing going on here that I could have filled out. Colors.
But to me, it was like this giant brush. Like I wanted to use this huge thing, which is almost like it's not normally a sketchbook sized brush.
Right.
So to do that, like, that allows you to be loose.
Yeah. And the same goes for that black brush that you use, the brush pen. Yeah,
because I started by using a little pen. I was using just this little pen to draw with, and it was just. But then this feels bigger, looser. Somebody asked if this is waterproof. I think it is.
I think those are waterproof. Yeah.
No, they're not incredibly waterproof. No. But I was doing it on top of the watercolor, so it didn't really matter. But I can also imagine doing that with ink and a brush, just taking India ink and painting on that.
Yeah. Absolutely. So. Yeah, and I think it's really about using, if you use crayons, if you use big brushes, if you use those brush markers, you cannot go into detail, and I think that really makes a difference for the results.
I think it makes you, to me, I really like this process that Inma uses of starting thinking big, bold colors. And you can look at any landscape, any situation, what are the big blocks of colors first? And then it's almost like, I always imagine it's like kind of like when you go and get your eyes checked and they keep saying, how does it look this, how does it like this, that you're putting on other lenses, and those are bringing in the details more. You can even squint your eyes to really break the whole thing down into those shapes, and then to capture those with the big, bold things of watercolor, and then to come in with other media and to focus it more and more, and then finally to put in highlights or even to go into a narrow pen. I think you have to be careful not to go too far.
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting next week, because next week we have Ian Fennelly, who is a master of this approach as well. How long do you think it took Inma to do this painting? Half an hour? To do like the one in the garden.
The one in the garden, I think...
You said she's really fast.
Yeah, she's really fast, but there were a lot of layers. I think it was under an hour. It's a little longer than, I think, maybe 45 minutes.
But Fennelly was like 3 hours.
Yes.
So, and how long was Ian Sidaway, would you say? How long did it take him to paint the cherries?
About an hour.
An hour. So when you see Fennelly, I think Sidaway is thinking, he has a plan, and then he kind of works his way across the painting. And he goes back and he puts some layers down. It's all. The other 3 artists that we've got kind of go in maybe with a vague plan, but they're figuring it out as they go.
Inma, especially, because I asked her, I was like, do you know if you start on a page, do you know what it's going to look like? She was like, oh, no. No.
That's part of the fun for her.
It really is. She just picks something that catches her eye and she starts drawing and she works from there.
Right.
Well, Ian Fennelly, for example, he does have a plan. I mean,
he has a plan, but he's also discovering things as he goes. You'll see. I mean, we don't rob you of the experience, but he, I think, just keeps discovering. He has a methodology, the sequence of media that he uses, but he's also discovering things and adding things and bringing things out. And to me, again, it's that thing of like things coming into focus more and more. You go, what is that blob? And then suddenly you realize, like, oh, it's a lamppost. Or what is that thing? Oh, it's a shadow. And just like the things with more and more detail.
Yeah.
But there is a danger in this approach, which is that you'll get so finicky, so detailed, that it just becomes, it loses the point of view.
Yeah.
And it's like you've lost that original. What's so nice about those first big bold strokes that you do is that there's so much energy, and your initial impressions are in that. And if they get layered over with too much stuff, I think if you wanted to do something that was fine and detailed, Ian Sidaway's approach is probably the way to go, right? Because it's methodical, and there's less of a worry with him of overworking, because it's more similar.
Yes.
So again, one of the interesting things about seeing different styles of people working in watercolor is you never want to. It's like we talked about in the very first class when we were talking about jazz, right? That loose, improvisational, kind of out of control. You don't know what's going to happen. Part of it. You want to preserve that in your watercolor, and I think it's hard. I mean, to me, this again, it's a very artificial construction. The way that we're working, so it's hard to really have that freeness that you'll have. when you do it a lot. But I think one of the things I loved about August Wren was that you have these pages and pages and pages of a book that just like the whole thing is painted over. It's like a book, but it's all paint everywhere, and there's a looseness and a freshness to that. And I think being able to like knock those out and just throwing, turn the page and do another one, turn the page and do another one. Don't think about this is a nice thing I'm going to hang on the wall.
Right.
But think like, man, I want to fill this whole sketchbook with a whole bunch of watercolors. And as I do that, it will become clearer what my style is, what my approach is. I'll have more facility with all these different media and the different tools, and it will just become more natural.
Yeah, you'll have pages that you will love, and you will have pages that you will skip if you go through your sketchbook. That's fine. I mean, it's normal, and I'm definitely going to skip this one if I go through my sketchbook. But it's fine. I mean, I found out some things. I learned from it. I liked playing with the crayons and the texture that it brought. So there's always something you get out of it. So did you want to show something?
I found in this book a few old. This is like when I was painting with gouache, like really super loose, and then that.
Wow.
Super loose, yeah. But then you have here's a painting of a dwarf, a naked dwarf. Because who doesn't want to paint a naked dwarf anymore?
Exactly.
But also,
do that once in a lifetime.
like this is a much more controlled watercolor.
Yeah.
So for those of you who know Tommy Kane, I was sitting next to him when I did this, and kind of some of his control reached onto me. I don't know if you can see it closely, but there's like every brick is drawn with colored pencil on this wall. It's not very loose. And
oh, look at that! That's Brenda.
Brenda Swenson done like really super loose.
Oh, Frosh.
Frosh done super loose. I kind of like this one. So this one. Like
the blue beard, yes, like fantastic.
Bleeding into water. This is another very tightly controlled one. Also done when I was sitting next to Tommy. He has that effect on me. Just like, gotta draw every detail. That's part of the thing is like when you draw with somebody else, you end up working at their pace. It's like going jogging. If you're used to jogging at a certain pace, you're running with a friend, you suddenly pick up their speed. So, so when I work with Tom, I would want to do a drawing in 15 minutes, and he would want to do a drawing in like 4 hours. And so, yeah. So, good. Well, I hope
this was helpful.
We've done our homework.
It was fun to do it alongside of each other. I don't think we've ever done that before.
No? We've done a drawing together. We once did a drawing where we sat and did this work on the same drawing together. That was a lot of fun.
That was fun,
yeah. It's nice to draw with somebody else.
It is, yeah.
I'm glad that you guys hopefully got to draw with us.
Yeah.
If you want to, this is going to be on the platform in the classroom, so you can watch it again if you want to just listen to us while you do your painting, if you didn't do it today. But thanks for joining us. It was fun.
It was fun, yeah.
We're having a lot of fun with watercolor rules, and we're looking forward to next week and further adventures and further rule breaking.
Yes, have fun with all the colors and all the materials you have, and use them all.
So, all right, guys. Eliza asked, what do we learn from each other?
That I need to be bolder in my colors, definitely, and in size as well. That's what I learned from seeing what you did.
Really?
Yeah.
I learned more from your other drawing that you showed us.
Yeah.
I think the style of pulling color into certain areas rather than coloring the whole page, I think was really great in that. When I look at the one that you just did today, I think the way that you added the lines certainly helped a lot. And your composition, I think overall on the page was better than mine. Mine was kind of out of control and overwhelmed the page. So, but I think I think a lot of it isn't really even that technical. I think it's just like having somebody to talk to while you're doing it. You're both kind of doing it, and then you go, oh, that's a surprise. That's the fun of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, guys. Well, we'll see you next time.
Thanks for hanging out with us.
Okay, bye-bye.